there. Pelosi and the rest of them, and Jerry Nadler can't touch him for 2 months. He can do a lot of damage, it seems to me.
Oh, no, I think we're being set up for both a constitutional crisis and obstruction of justice, and he's going to just run out the clock.
Which guy in your former political party, former colleagues, has the stones to go after this guy and say, we're going to impeach this guy? Who's going to do it? Name the person.
First of all,
who's going to lead the party? Because I don't see this, and I don't see it from Republicans at all.
So, first of all, I don't think that the Democrats should be unilaterally focused on investigations and impeachment. They need to do both. They need to focus on investigating the president where it's warranted, but they also have to deliver to the American people on things like Medicare, drugs. They've got to do both things.
I like that part too. And we'll get to that. Okay. But my question is, if he fires Mueller, who's going to stop him?
If he fires Mueller before the Democrats take Congress, I don't know that anybody can stop him.
Well, that's an interesting development.
And so that's the timing of this. Look, he made this decision to announce the firing of the Attorney General for 2 reasons. Number one, gave his right to step on the afterglow of the Democratic victory. And number two, I think the governor is right. He knows something bad is coming. And he's trying to address that before the Democrats are in a position to.
Okay. When I hear people in your party like Lamar Alexander with all these wimpy comments, I mean, it's so. Oh, wait. I hope he does. Even Mark Warner, I like him. He goes, "Well, I hope he doesn't go any further." And he's already done it.
I know, and it's very disappointing because just saying things like that isn't good enough. You've got to act, and they have the ability to put some brakes on this man, as he undermines the very basics of our democracy.
He's turned the Democratic Party into the Maxine Waters Party. He made it look like it's a hard left party, so they're afraid to show themselves. You know, it's good old unhyphenated Democrats, just regular people doing their job. And they don't seem to want to do that.
Yeah, you could say that. On the other hand, the American people clearly don't agree with that based on the results from 2 nights ago. And I think a lot of Americans are really... Last night. Sorry.
It seemed that far away?
It seemed like it.
He, you know, his game here, obviously, is to try and divide Democrats. And he has, in fact, said, listen, if Democrats try to go after me, I'm going to continue to try and divide them and make sure that the focus is on how crazy those guys are. They look at Maxine Waters, look at Nancy Pelosi. Democrats are going to investigate him.
Let me ask you a question. Why do voters reelect people who have been convicted or under investigation? Menendez from your state, this guy out in California, Chris Collins up in New York. Don't they have any sense that says, I don't care whether I'm a Democrat or Republican, I'm not voting for somebody who's got ethical problems. I'm not going to do it. They don't. They reelect them.
There are certain states and certain districts that just have a partisan gravity. That guy may be a crook, but he's my crook. And that's what's happening in some of these races. But unfortunately, it's the reality.
I agree with you. Thank you, Steve Israel, with the bad news. Thank you, Christine Todd Whitman. A sort of higher sort. By the way, we miss your Republican Party. Where is it?
I'm looking for it.
Okay, thank you. Gabe DeBenedetti, thank you. Up next, Trump lashes out at journalists at a combative White House press conference. We're going to show you some scenes of the glory of stuff today. What a strange event. Look at it. It's even physically like they're coming at each other. Look at it. Look at the assistant to the president pulling the mic out of the guy's hand, out of Jim Acosta's hand. It got physical. You watch the Hardball. Welcome back to Hardball. At his press conference today, as I said, President Trump took an aggressive stance, I'd say, towards the press. Let's watch.
Very hostile media coverage, to put it mildly. The media coverage set a new record and a new standard.
If I may ask one other question, are you worried?
That's enough. That's enough.
President.
I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN. Peter, go ahead.
In Jim's defense, I've traveled with him and watched him. He's a diligent reporter who busts his butt.
Well, I'm not a big fan of yours either, so
I understand.
To be honest.
So let me ask you a question, if I can. You repeatedly said
you aren't the best,
Mr. President. You repeatedly, over the course of the...
Okay, just sit down, please. Well, when you report fake news, when you report fake news, which CNN does a lot, you are the enemy of the people.
Well, late today, the White House announced it was suspending the hard pass of that CNN reporter, Jim Acosta. So they're using the power against him, one of the press. You're watching Hardball. Trump Watch Wednesday, November 7th, 2018. Did we expect the day after the midterm elections to be like this? No. But did we know this day would come? Yes. Donald Trump brought this street-fighting ways to the White House when he came there. And when someone is coming at you, he says, you strike before they strike you. And today, Trump struck. and it won't be the last time. He forced out his AG and filled the post with a man who will honor the fullest notion of the president's powers, who will accept as normal political behavior that others might easily discern as advancing a criminal conspiracy by Russians. What's Trump up to? Trump wants to eliminate what he sees as a threat to his family, his presidency, and perhaps even his liberty. This is going to be one of the great fights in the history of the American government and politics. And that's hardball for now. He's fighting for his life. Stopped by Trump.
It's not clear that he's concluded in terms of indictments moving forward. There was definitely a pause as a result of the window inside of the election. We're now outside of the window, and I think that investigation will continue, and we're likely to see some more people held accountable. The law does provide that ultimately he does have to issue a report only to the Department of Justice, not to the American people, because the independent counsel has expired. That's why it was so important for us to take back control of the House of Representatives on the oversight responsibility, because we can prevent them from burying that report.
Mimi, I have a hunch that Trump has very few people he's not willing to dump. Throw him under the bus. He's done it with so many of his people. And then he mocks them afterwards. Look what he did to the Republicans that didn't endorse him or embrace him, as he put it, in the election. He laughed at them. He loves saying you're fired. That's his giggle. His kids are different. It's clear he cares about Ivanka and her husband, Jared. My instinct has been, at some point, Mueller's going to prosecute them because of the Trump Tower meeting and all the involvements they've had, especially the son, Donald Trump Jr., because of the Trump Tower meeting. Trump can't allow his kids to be indicted because people have told him he can't pardon them. So doesn't he have to stop Mueller in his tracks, like right now?
Well, I think that's what he's trying to do, and I think that's why this is, I think, Chris, as bad as him having fired Mueller, maybe even worse, and let me tell you why. First of all, he's done it in this sort of stealth way. I mean, I don't know that I've thought of Trump as a very smart, calculating guy, but he is here now.
He is president. He got there somehow.
Well, we can debate that another time. But
when I walk past Trump Tower here on Fifth Avenue, I don't know about you, but I'm impressed. But he does own that building.
This is a very calculated move that he did. He got this guy in who can now control not only the Mueller investigation, but the investigations in the Southern District of New York into the Trump Organization, any cases that Mueller farmed out to the Eastern District of Virginia.
Whitaker's got all this.
He has got more control now over lots of different arms going into Trump's family, and that is really dangerous, and he's got cover now.
We only got one lawmaker here. Congressman, let me ask you about I've watched the pattern of this thing. Puts in Kavanaugh. Why Kavanaugh? There's a lot of guys around like Kavanaugh. He picked a guy who said, the President of the United States has extraordinary executive authority, and you really can't limit that authority. And then he brings in this guy Whitaker, who thinks the same exact thing. What's going to stop him from just claiming the extraordinary power as President of the United States to do whatever he wants to do with his departments, including the Justice Department? What are you guys going to do about it? Will you impeach him?
Well, we're not going to go down that road right now. We have to allow the process to play itself out. But I think the good men and women of the Department of Justice and the FBI won't allow the type of shenanigans that he may try to undertake to go forward without it being exposed. And now they have an empowered House of Representatives.
But this is their new boss we're looking at.
It is their boss, but they also know that we have a constitutional responsibility to be a check and balance on an out-of-control executive. And the cover-up caucus that had been in charge of the House of Representatives for the last 2 years is no longer in the majority.
You mean Nunes and company?
Nunes and company. He's the lead one of the cover-up caucus, but there's a whole bunch of them, unfortunately.
Let me go back to Michael. The reporting on this, where is it going tonight and tomorrow? How far Trump is heading in this direction of strategic defense?
Well, that's really the question. And how long would Whitaker be there? Is Whitaker the person that Trump wants to be the attorney general in the long run? Is this someone, is he testing him out here, or is he putting him there hoping to keep him there even if Congress won't confirm the person that he wants? There's just a lot that we don't know here and what the president's true intentions are.
How about Lindsey Graham? Does he want Lindsey in there?
Well,
does he want Lindsey there?
Lindsey Graham, Chris Christie, would those folks come in? And is he going straight for Mueller? Does he want to have Mueller fired? I think that would create a massive reaction that would be negative for the president. The president has some PTSD from the firing of Comey, some real scar tissue there.
He's got 54 senators, too, maybe.
Yeah, it's not clear how, the president often likes to do things to distract, and, he probably knows deep down inside that yesterday's election was not as great for him as he made it out to be at his press conference.
You know, Chris.
Go ahead, David. Because I see that number of senators is critical to his new confidence in this area. That he doesn't need the 2 women for another confirmation. If there's a choice issue there in terms of a woman's right to choose, he can still operate without Collins and without Murkowski. He's got enough Republican males, to put it bluntly, to get a confirmation.
You know, Chris, we call this the Mueller investigation. But really, it's an FBI investigation. It was started by the FBI. After Comey was fired, the special counsel was appointed to oversee it and run it. But so if you get rid of Mueller, that doesn't necessarily end the investigation. You would have to basically get the FBI to shut it down, to fire all those prosecutors, and that brings the FBI director and lots of other officials into the picture. And the question is, would they go along with it? So I think to truly get away with smothering this, even strangling it budgetarily, speaking, would take a lot of people to go along with that. And if they don't, you could have something that looks 100 times worse than Nixon's Saturday Night Massacre.
So you don't think he'll fire Mueller?
Oh, I'm not sure right away, but I'm not sure he understands this. You get rid of Mueller, it doesn't mean the investigation goes away unless you're willing to order the FBI to shut it down, which is kind of what Nixon, when he lost his presidency over, by trying to shut down the FBI investigation of Watergate.
Well, I know is Trump, and you know him too, David. And everybody else here knows him. And Trump sees the presidency as a family acquisition. He sees the federal government as a family business, and the way he looks at it, perhaps like an organized criminal at times. I think he looks about it this way. There's a mention made of a wartime consigliere here. He wants somebody like that in the Justice Department for him. He's not going to take a licking. He's not going to let his kids go to prison.
You're right. I think
he's not going to let that happen. He will not let that happen. And I'm just watching how many steps will he take to prevent that from happening, because he will take those steps. Thank you, Michael Schmidt, U.S. Congressman Hakeem Jeffries of New York. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chris.
And Mimi Rocha and David Corn. Coming up, before Democrats in the House take office this January 3rd, President Trump is taking the fight to them, as we've said. Look at this fight today. What a press conference. It was street fighting. Not much dignity there. Not much dignity at all. This is Hardball, where the action is. Welcome back to Hardball. With the news that he has decided to fire his Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, President Trump has ensured a big political battle with a new Democratic majority in the House, which comes in on January 3rd. Even before the Sessions news, Trump signaled a combative posture today toward the Democrats. He warned if they use their new powers, running the House, the power to subpoena, he won't hesitate to use the Senate Republicans to go after them. It's already a street fight. Let's watch it.
They can play that game, but we can play it better, because we have a thing called the United States Senate, and a lot of very questionable things were done, between leaks of classified information and many other elements that should not have taken place.
Well, in fact, Trump even went so far as to say he would benefit if that happened. He wants a fight.
It'll probably be very good for me politically. I could see it being extremely good politically, because I think I'm better at that game than they are.
Could be. Joining me right now is Heidi Presbilla, NBC News national political correspondent. Charlie Sykes, of course, is contributing editor at the Weekly Standard. Thank you both. It looks to me like, I mean, we all watched that press conference today. He was in a fighting mood. The press was to some extent, too, but he wanted a fight. He wanted to make a little blood show on people's noses. He wanted to look like a fight. And it seems to me that I've never heard in my life a president saying, I'm going to use the subpoena power of one branch of the U.S. Congress to prevent the other one from doing their job of oversight. Heidi.
Oh, well, it will be a test, Chris, for congressional leaders, because clearly the House has shown by the investigations that they've pursued that they're willing to play ball and go along with this, and it's led to a deterioration in bipartisanship there. And in the Senate, we've not